Once again from the Masonic, here's Paul W. Smith.
And aren't we lucky here at 134 to have a distinguished professor of political science department and the director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, Professor David Giulio. So nice to see you. Nice to have you on the program.
Good to see you, Paul W. Thanks for having me.
And very specifically, look, we couldn't do it because we're out here doing our show, but you just heard Senator Joe Manchin. Give me a takeaway or two from your learned view.
Well, it was a pleasure to hear the senator from West Virginia, and a couple of takeaways are I can see why so many people would be attracted to him as a potential presidential candidate. He talks about American politics. He talks about policies in a way that is different from nearly every other elected official in Washington. He talks about governing from the center, not governing from the left or the right. And I think that is, in today's very polarized environment, that is a message that would be welcomed by many Americans.
You know, I have to say, as everyone just kind of filed out, our friend John Fickney stopped by, and he said he loved him. He said Joe Manchin was something. And when I was talking with Senator Manchin, I was assuming, I swear I heard him say he was not going to run for president. He had made the decision not to run for president. And I used that as a basis of my conversation with the senator. And John Fickney just said to me, "Oh, no, Paul, he's running for president." I go, What did I miss?
Well, it certainly Senator Manchin did make that statement a couple weeks back that he has decided not to.
Thank God, I thought I was going crazy.
No, you are remembering correctly, and he reiterated that point in the luncheon meeting, saying I've already made my decision that he doesn't want to be a spoiler, and you can certainly see that perspective. Even though today in American politics the appetite for, demand for a third-party alternative has never been higher. So the environment is one in which that maybe never before in American history, at least modern history, have we had the possibility of somebody outside of the traditional two-party structure being able to be successful. But he doesn't want to be a spoiler, right? He doesn't want to tip the scales to one side or the other. But never say never in American politics.
I guess. Even if you've said never.
Right.
You don't have
Well, hey, it wouldn't be the first time an elected official's changed his or her mind, right?
Is that ever the truth? We're spending some time with distinguished professor of political science department and the director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, Professor David Giulio. Nikki Haley just said at her rally that she thinks Donald Trump can't win. She thinks she would not run as his vice presidential candidate. And I think she said she wouldn't want to be a third-party candidate either, I believe.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's a tough go as a third-party candidate. It's always been tough. It will always be tough as given the structures that we have in place right now. But, I think Nikki Haley is another one who might be attractive to a third-party organization. There's this group out there, No Labels, that is
right.
That is, they say they're after Super Tuesday that they're going to assess whether or not they're going to push forward with their quote-unquote unity ticket. I imagine that they will, just because the choices of Trump and Biden appear to be locked in, and no matter what Nikki Haley says, her argument to be the GOP nominee would be much stronger if Donald Trump wasn't ahead in all the polling,
everywhere, including here in Michigan, right? This is a fait accompli in Michigan, isn't it? I mean, it would be wrong for us to think otherwise. That in fact it's not, the outcomes are not in doubt in Michigan at this point.
In the primaries tomorrow, yeah. This is the most anticlimactic presidential primary that we've had maybe ever.
Wow.
It's just there's no juice to it, right? The only story that really matters tomorrow is uncommitted on the Democratic side, and
that's a big deal for a lot of people, especially in Dearborn,
absolutely,
and in other places, saying because of the way you're handling the situation, in the Middle East, we're going to not give you support. We're going to be uncommitted.
And there are high-profile folks here in Southeast Michigan that are pushing and encouraging folks to vote uncommitted, including Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib and others in her constituency. The thing to keep an eye on tomorrow, as results roll in tomorrow night, I guess, is how big of a chunk of the vote does uncommitted actually get.
You have to be very strong, which apparently Nikki Haley is, and the people who are supporting her for whatever reason. If Donald Trump stumbles, falls, goes into jail, whatever it is, that they keep her alive. I can't imagine losing in my home state, state where I was elected twice as governor.
Yeah, it's got to be demoralizing, right? I mean, but it's not like she didn't see it coming, right?
Right. People have been talking about it for a long time,
for months, right?
Yeah,
I mean, and I give her credit for keeping on and keeping on, right? I mean, she's hanging around just in case, as you mentioned, right? Something happens and Trump can't be the nominee, then she's got a claim to it.
Professor David Dulio, we keep hearing that the road to the presidency must come through Michigan. So what, in your learned view, how important of a role will Michigan play in the general election this
Michigan
fall?
Is absolutely critical.
Why?
Because we have we are a 50-50 state, right? We are a competitive state that is up for grabs to both candidates. Not to mention if a third-party candidate, an additional third-party candidate comes in, because we can't forget about RFK Jr., Jill Stein, Cornel West, right? There are other alternatives that will be on the ballot, but it's going to be a very close contest in November with a lot of electoral votes at stake, and that is what's going to bring not only the candidates here a bunch of times, but just tons of campaign cash is going to flow into this state, because they are both going to compete very, very aggressively to win Michigan.
Well, it'll be fascinating, certainly, to watch. If you want to know how much power this man still has, this man being Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, ask Ronna McDaniel.
Right.
Because he said she should be out, and she's going to be out.
It didn't take very long either, right? I mean, the writing was on the wall for her, and again, it demonstrates the power and influence that Donald Trump has in today's Republican Party.
Yep. Must be a great time to be teaching.
Never a dull moment, never a lack of information or things to talk about.
And I hope the kids are very interested.
They are. What they are not interested in is Joe Biden or Donald Trump as their options for president, much like many Americans.
Professor David Dulio, Distinguished Professor of Political Science Department and Director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, thank you for sharing your expertise. We look forward to having you back again. We are closing out the show with the one and only Roop Raj, anchor reporter at Fox 2, all-round good guy, and he was the moderator at this great luncheon today at the Detroit Economic Lunch at the Masonic Temple. Stay with us.